She didn't whisper it. She didn't even try to lower her voice. Standing right beside the cake, in front of my granddaughter's friends, their parents, and half my own family, my son's wife looked straight at me and said, "You're just a pension check with a heartbeat." People laughed nervously, like she'd told a joke. I was still holding the birthday gift I had paid for with 40 years of work, and in that moment, I realized I wasn't a father or a grandfather in that house anymore. I was a monthly deposit. Earlier that week, I came home from my usual morning walk and found an envelope waiting for me on the small desk in the guest room. My name was written in my granddaughter's careful handwriting. Inside was an invitation to her birthday party. Glitter along the edges. "Grandpa, please come," she'd written in purple ink. I sat down on the edge of the bed and read it twice. No phone call, no message from my son. Just the card. Still, it meant something to me. At 73, you learn to take what's offered and be grateful. I went out the next day and bought her the art set she'd circled in a catalog weeks before. $240. I wrapped it myself at the kitchen table, taking my time with the paper. I even pressed my shirt and polished my shoes the morning of the party. I wanted to look presentable, not flashy, just steady. When I pulled into their driveway that Saturday, the house was already loud. Balloons tied to the mailbox, cars lined along the curb. Through the open front door, I could hear music and children running across hardwood floors. Amanda met me at the door. Her smile was thin. "Oh, you made it," she said, stepping aside. "I wouldn't miss it," I told her. Inside, she moved through the room like she was hosting a corporate event, correcting the caterer, adjusting decorations. When she passed me, she leaned in and said quietly, "I hope you brought something decent this time." She talks about what her friends get. I handed her the gift. "I think she'll like it." She gave it a quick shake as if weighing it. "We'll see." My son barely looked up from the grill on the patio. "Hey, Dad," he called. No hug, no handshake, just smoke and distraction. I found my granddaughter in the living room and gave her the card I'd written. She hugged me around the waist. "I'm glad you came," she whispered. That was enough for me. The afternoon rolled on. I noticed Amanda watching me more than once, especially when other parents asked what I did before retirement. She'd step in quickly. "He's enjoying his pension now," she'd say with a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. When it came time for cake, everyone gathered around the dining table. I stood near the end, holding my wrapped box, waiting for my granddaughter to open it. That's when Amanda said it. After the nervous laughter faded, no one quite knew where to look. My son stared at the table. Someone coughed. My granddaughter blinked up at me, confused. Amanda smiled wider. "Oh, come on, it's just a joke." I set the gift down carefully on the table. "I think I'll head out," I said. My son finally spoke. "Dad, don't make this a thing." I looked at him, really looked at him. "It already is." I left before the candles were lit. No one followed me to the door. I drove home with both hands steady on the wheel, but my chest felt tight the whole way. I kept replaying the sound of that laughter. Not loud, not cruel, just uncomfortable enough to let her get away with it. That's how it had always been with Amanda. Little cuts in public, polished smile afterward. The next morning my son called. "You embarrassed her," he said without greeting. "I embarrassed her?" I asked. "You walked out in front of everyone. It made things awkward." I let that sit for a moment. "She called me a pension check." "She was joking, Dad. You're too sensitive lately." That word again. Sensitive. It had become his way of dismissing anything I felt. 3 days later, Amanda came by alone. She didn't sit. She stood in my kitchen like she was conducting business. "We need to talk about school," she said. "Your granddaughter's extracurriculars are expanding. Private tutoring, dance, science camp. It's about $3,000. "For what exactly?" I asked. "For school activities," she said, already impatient. "You always say you want what's best for her." I did want what was best for her. I had been wiring smaller amounts for years. 800 here, 1,200 there. She'd always framed it as temporary help. I'll transfer it, I said. She softened immediately. I knew you'd understand. 2 months later, she called again. This time, it was medical expenses. $5,500. Specialist visits, she said. Insurance doesn't cover everything. I asked to see the bills. She sighed heavily. Do you not trust me? I didn't answer that directly. I sent the money. Then came the big one. They were concerned about the neighborhood, said property values were rising elsewhere. If we move somewhere better, she explained over coffee at my table, it'll mean safer streets and better schools. We just need help with the down payment. $12,000 would close the gap. My son sat beside her that day, quiet but nodding. It's for her future, Dad. Every time it was framed that way. For her. For your granddaughter. What I didn't know then was that within the same year, Amanda bought 2 designer handbags that cost more than my first car. She posted photos online in dresses with price tags still tucked inside. They leased a new car. She took 2 trips to Miami without my granddaughter, calling them girls' weekends. But in front of my son, she painted a different picture. One evening, after another transfer of $1,000, my son called angry. Amanda said you questioned her about money. Why would you make her feel small like that? I just asked what it was for, I said. She already explained it's for our daughter. Do you think we'd misuse it? I hesitated too long. You don't trust us, he said flatly. Trust. That was the word she always maneuvered him toward. Over time, visits became conditional. We're busy this weekend. She has practice. Maybe next month. And once, very clearly, Amanda told me, if you're going to make things uncomfortable, maybe it's better you skip a few birthdays. I understood the message. Pay quietly, or risk access. And I paid. The requests didn't stop after that. They became routine. Every few weeks there would be a message. We're short this month. Or, can you help with a quick $900? Sometimes it was $800. Sometimes $1,200. Always framed as temporary. Always tied back to my granddaughter somehow. One afternoon I stopped by unannounced with a small book I thought she'd like. Amanda answered the door holding a shopping bag from a designer store I recognized. I may be retired, but I'm not blind. Oh, she said, surprised. You should have called. I was in the area, I told her. Inside, I noticed a new leather handbag sitting on the kitchen island. My son was in the den, working. My granddaughter ran to hug me. While she flipped through the book, I asked casually, how are the medical bills going? Amanda's posture stiffened. Covered. That's good. She crossed her arms. Are you auditing us now? No, I just wanted to understand. She lowered her voice. If you're going to question every dollar, maybe we need to rethink how often you're around. She doesn't need tension. There it was again. Access as leverage. That evening my son called me after I'd left. What's going on with you? He asked. Amanda said you implied she's wasting money. I didn't imply anything. I asked about expenses. She feels attacked. She's doing everything for our daughter. You don't see what it costs. I almost told him about the handbag, about the new car I'd seen in the driveway last month. But I stopped. If I accused her outright without proof in his hands, she would twist it. She always did, and she did. A week later, during Sunday dinner at their house, she brought up money in front of him. Your father thinks I'm irresponsible, she said lightly while setting down plates. Apparently, I can't manage basic finances. I looked at my son. That's not what I said. She blinked, wounded. You asked about my purchases. I asked about medical bills. My son's jaw tightened. Why are you digging into our accounts? Because I've given you nearly $20,000 in the last year, I said quietly. Amanda let out a small laugh. There it is. My son stood up. You're keeping score? I wasn't. I had never asked for a thank you. I had never asked to see a receipt. I had just wanted honesty. From that night on, something shifted. Calls from my son became colder. Visits were shorter. My granddaughter once told me, "Mom says you think we're bad with money." Children repeat what they hear. And I began to understand that Amanda wasn't just asking for money. She was building a story around me. A story where I was suspicious, controlling, difficult. A bad grandfather. I went home that night and sat alone in my living room for a long time. Not angry, just tired. By the end of that year, I had transferred more than I ever planned to in retirement. If I added it all up, it was over $30,000 between the large requests and the smaller ones. I kept a simple ledger in a drawer, not to throw in their faces, but because that is how I've always lived. I worked 40 years in municipal maintenance. I respect numbers. Amanda never once showed me a bill. Instead, I started noticing patterns. New clothes with tags still hanging in the closet when I helped my granddaughter find a sweater. A photo online of Amanda in a resort I recognized from a travel magazine. My granddaughter wasn't in any of those pictures. One afternoon, I asked my granddaughter how science camp was going. She looked confused. "What science camp?" she said. "The one your mom said you were enrolled in." She shrugged. "I don't go to camp. I just stay home with Mom in the summer." That was the first time my stomach really dropped. I didn't confront Amanda right away. I waited. I watched. 2 weeks later, she called asking for another $1,200. "Car repairs," she said. "Transmission issues." "I thought you leased the new car," I replied before I could stop myself. There was a pause. Then her voice changed. "Why are you spying on us?" "I'm not spying. I'm trying to understand." "You don't trust me. I've told Seth you've been acting strange." That night my son called, angrier than I'd ever heard him. "What is your problem?" he demanded. "Amanda says you're accusing her of lying." "I asked about the car." "You're interrogating her. She's in tears." I closed my eyes. "Seth, have you seen any of these bills yourself?" Silence. Then he said, "Of course I have." But it sounded rehearsed. The truth came out later, but not because of me. About a year after the birthday party, my son found messages on Amanda's phone. At first, it was just late-night texting, then photos, then hotel reservations. The man she was seeing was younger, flashy, promising her a different life. A newer car, better vacations, bigger everything. When he confronted her, the story unraveled quickly. Credit card statements he'd never examined. Transfers from my account that didn't line up with any tuition or medical payments. Trips booked on the same weekends she told him she was at conferences. He called me late one night. "Dad," he said, and his voice sounded small for the first time in years. "How much have you given us?" I told him the number. He didn't speak for a long time. "I didn't know," he said finally. "I figured you didn't." The divorce wasn't about me. It was about betrayal. About lies that had nothing to do with my pension. But the money was part of it. It was proof of how easily she had moved things around without him looking too closely. He moved into a smaller rental after she left. Sold the leased car. Closed joint accounts. He never said the words I waited for. Not at first. But something in him softened. After the divorce papers were filed, the house felt different when I visited. Quieter. Not tense, just tired. My son looked older than his 43 years. He'd lost weight. There were dark circles under his eyes. One afternoon, he asked me to sit at the small kitchen table in his rental. "I went through everything," he said. "The accounts, the transfers, the credit cards." I waited. "She told me you pressured her, that you insisted on paying for things so you could feel important." He rubbed his forehead. "That wasn't true, was it?" "No," I said simply. He nodded slowly. "I should have checked. I should have asked questions." I didn't pile on. There's no dignity in kicking someone when they finally see the ground. He swallowed. "She used that $12,000 for the move to upgrade the car, the $5,500 for medical. There were no specialists. And the $3,000 for school activities? That went to a vacation I didn't even know about. I felt a heaviness settle in my chest, but not surprise. Just confirmation. She told me you were controlling, that you made her feel small. I asked for receipts once, I said. That was enough. He looked up at me then. Really looked at me. Why didn't you tell me? I tried, but every time I did, you thought I was attacking her. He didn't argue. Visits with my granddaughter became easier after that. No gatekeeping, no scheduling obstacles. I picked her up for ice cream without negotiation. We worked on her homework at my place on Wednesdays. One evening, as she colored at my dining table, my son stood in the doorway. She told me once, he said quietly, that if we didn't keep you happy, you might cut us off, that we couldn't risk upsetting you. I almost laughed at the irony. I never wanted control, I said. I just wanted honesty. He nodded. I know that now. He never apologized in a dramatic way. No speeches, no tears. But he started showing up. He called just to ask how I was doing. He fixed a loose railing on my porch without me asking. Small things. Real things. What he didn't know was that years before any of this fell apart, I had already made my own quiet decision. The first time Amanda asked for money for school, I had opened a separate savings account in my granddaughter's name, not connected to them, not accessible to anyone else. I deposited into it every month, steady and protected. I treated it like a bill I owed to her future. College, trade school, a small business if she wanted. Whatever path she chose. That account had grown quietly while the arguments grew loudly. I never told Amanda. I never told my son either. Some things are better kept safe until they're needed. The divorce took almost a year to finalize. There were arguments about furniture, about the car, about who paid for what. The money I had transferred came up in mediation. My son told his attorney the truth, that most of it had come from me, that he had believed it was going toward their daughter. Amanda tried to frame it differently. She claimed I had inserted myself financially into their marriage. But bank statements don't carry emotion. They just show numbers. When it was over, she moved in with the younger man for a while. That didn't last. Promises made in text messages rarely survive real life. My son never asked me for another dollar. One evening, he came by alone. We sat on my back porch, the sun going down slow over the fence. I was wrong about you, he said. No buildup, no excuse. Just that. I nodded. She told me you only helped so you could hold it over us, that you'd threatened to cut us off. I never threatened, I said. I know. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. When she called you that at the party, I should have said something. Yes, I agreed. He looked ashamed, but he didn't look defensive anymore. I didn't want conflict, he said. I thought keeping the peace meant staying quiet. Sometimes staying quiet is the loudest choice you make, I told him. We sat there for a while without speaking. It wasn't dramatic. Just two men, one older, one still learning. My granddaughter started spending whole weekends at my house. We baked. We watched old movies. She liked hearing stories about when her father was a boy. I told them honestly. Not glorified, not bitter. One Saturday afternoon, while she was in the yard drawing with chalk, my son said, I've been thinking about the future. College is going to be expensive. It will be, I said. I don't want her to depend on anyone the way I did. I looked at him carefully. That's a good instinct. He hesitated. Did you ever set anything aside for her? I kept my voice steady. Yes. His head lifted. A long time ago, I said. It's protected. In her name. No one else's. He swallowed. You never told us. It wasn't about you. He nodded slowly, understanding that. I won't touch it, he said. That's hers. I know. There was no applause, no grand gesture, just a quiet shift. He finally saw what I had been trying to be all along. Not a bank account, a grandfather. My granddaughter turned 16 in the spring. No big party this time, just dinner at my house with takeout and a small cake she picked herself. A week later, she asked if we could talk. We sat at my kitchen table the same way we always do. "I've been looking at schools," she said. "Graphic design. Or maybe I'll start something on my own. I don't know yet." "You've got time," I said. She nodded. "Dad mentioned you might want to show me something." I stood up, went to the hallway closet, and brought down the metal box from the top shelf. I unlocked it and took out the folder I had kept updated for years. Statements, trust documents, the account in her name. I placed them in front of her. "This has been yours for a while," I said. "It's protected. Only you can access it when the time comes." She looked at the numbers carefully. She didn't gasp or cry. She just read. My son stood in the doorway, arms crossed. He already knew. We had discussed it months earlier. He didn't comment. "You've been doing this the whole time?" she asked. "Yes." She closed the folder. "Okay." There was no speech after that. No promises about the future. Just an understanding. Amanda moved out of state after the divorce. We haven't spoken in years. There's no reason to. My son and I see each other regularly now. He handles his own bills. He doesn't ask for help. When he comes by, we talk about ordinary things. Work, the weather, repairs around the house. Life is quieter than it used to be. That afternoon, my granddaughter packed the papers back into the folder and handed them to me. "I'll come by this weekend," she said. "All right." She left with her father. I locked the metal box and put it back on the shelf. The house settled into silence. I made a cup of coffee and sat down at the table. It was just another day. If this story meant something to you, subscribe. There's more to come.